meeting to order at 7:31. We have to let people know that this meeting is being recorded.
Somewhere.
That's all we have to tell them now,
And
though,
their
right?
voice and image will be
Their voice and
recorded.
image
Yes,
will be recorded.
yes,
Okay.
and I always add, and live forever on YouTube.
Sounds like
Well,
Tom
I mean, the
Sanford.
apocalypse may come eventually, and
Well.
that might get them off the hook.
We don't have a complex agenda, but we've got a couple fun things to do, and then we can talk to some of the proponents, and I think things will go along pretty smoothly. But the first item is to vote to accept Beth as the Housing Trust representative to the Community Preservation Act Committee.
So
there's
moved.
Second.
In a second. Is there any discussion? Because this is your
I would like to
last-
put out, he made me sit at the table. I was gonna sit over there until I was at
Oh,
and he and
jeez.
Maureen were just like,
No.
no, you sit over here, so.
Well, I don't know, maybe that's chair overreach, maybe we need to put that.
No discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It sounds unanimous to me. Thank you. Welcome, Beth. This is
Yay,
wonderful.
thank you.
Yay!
Well, it's nice to have someone from the trust itself, because you have access to funds that we're supplying, and now you're accountable.
It's great to
I'm not sure I'm actually any more accountable than I was before the vote, but that's okay. Very excited to be working with you all.
Do you want to say, does everybody know Beth real well?
I don't really know
Hi,
you
I'm
terribly
I'm
well.
Beth.
Do you want to say anything about yourself? So,
I mean, I've only been in town 11 years.
Okay, so-
11,
so
no,
you're-
14, 15, only been in town 15 years at this point.
Okay, so
still
not
total-
very long.
Total
but-
incomer.
But very involved, so there you go. You
Yeah.
get gold stars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do election things. I helped with the town administrator position right up. Like doing stuff.
Okay. Which is why you're here.
Yeah.
minutes from the 17th. Does everybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
I did read it.
And do we have a motion on those?
Move to accept the minutes.
Second?
Any additions or corrections anybody's got? Everybody's
Good job as usual.
Is it one from the third also, Tim?
Oh, there's,
There's two.
There are 2 sets.
oh, the 3rd. So this is the 3rd and the 17th. It's a motion.
Yes, it's
Happy? Yep,
for
okay.
both.
So we'll do both.
And my second was for both.
Very good. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That's good, we got that done. We don't have any bills. We have submitted Wayne's signed materials, and those are being processed, so that's being taken care of. And we've got a few minutes before 7:40, so we'll jump to chair updates. The annual town report is due on January 31st, and Maureen's working on that. She'll send around a draft before too long, and we'll get a chance to make sure we're happy with what that says. The warrant closes on the 24th of February, which is wonderful, because it really gives us a lot of time in case any of these projects need fine-tuning even in February, so that's a good sign. They opened it last night. I'm still reaching out to Stuart with a couple questions, but I haven't got a response from him. And Chase, which surprises me, because
Well,
usually
If
you-
they're on vacation the last week of the year.
and they were, and
It
but
takes sometimes a little while to read through.
I
them.
sent him a question before they went, which I assumed might get a response, and then I sent it again.
The only time I called and he answered the phone.
Yeah, no,
Like,
and you've
Awesome.
chased him down and had good luck. Yeah, so maybe there's some little thing I'm missing, but my assumption is that we're gonna hear.
Maybe he decided that Berlin's been pesty.
Nah.
Maybe that's what it was.
Well, now what, there's 200 towns now?
Yeah, so. Marty gave me a thumb drive, Marty Miller gave me a thumb drive with pictures, which I was gonna bring and give to Maureen, and I didn't, cause we were talking about including those on the website. Maureen met with a representative from the folks that are redoing the town's website, and they praised the work that she had done on our website, right, Maureen?
No, I think what he said was nowhere near the bottom of what the other pages look like. So I'll take that as
That-
you're good.
that's
I
ball
There you
think.
go,
No,
yeah.
He was more praiseworthy than that, yeah.
In fact, I looked at it, I think last night, and he made some changes. We're now correct alphabetically when you go on to the page, so
Oh,
that's
good.
been popped into the correct
Good,
place. But he's also done something with some of things that I uploaded in their Word documents, so I'm gonna have to go back and make them PDFs. And, I'm supposed to meet with him again sometime in February, so.
That's always a better
we'll
idea than
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, so we're making progress on the website,
see.
which is encouraging.
So you're gonna put pictures of the
Some of the
completed or
yeah,
in
s-
progress project?
Well, I think we do initially the completed ones,
Cause we have a couple now.
cause we got the fence and the
Right.
tennis courts and those things and the
Horseshoe
picture of,
Pond.
some of the land acquisition stuff, so.
Yep.
But, so I'll bring you that, Maureen, and then we can figure out a way to get those on. I did give the Housing Trust, a document that the Consortium for Community Preservation suggested CPAs exchange with Housing Trust that get them to sort of a letter of agreement that they understand they have funds and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know if you guys have talked about it anymore, but
We haven't met since
since that time,
since that.
Yeah,
We,
so-
our meeting was supposed to be Christmas Day, so we decided to skip it.
I don't blame you.
So we meet again, I know, I wanted to meet, I don't know. We meet at the end of the month, so we'll actually have one more meeting
Right?
before,
Yeah,
That's the kind of
before we
person
meet on
she
that. But
is.
but the committee is, certainly the feelings that, yes, this is great, we should have stuff in writing and processes and procedures, so when all of us are gone, things still move forward the
Yeah.
way they ought to.
yeah, that's the main point, is just to make sure there's understanding and commitment, and it's shared one generation to the next, so. 7:39, June, why don't you come up and share a chair with us? Cause you're at
Here.
any minute now.
She wants to go home, it's.
June's probably saying, yeah, you dragged me out on this thing.
Well, that's what their
That's
brownies
just
and
as well,
blondies
since
to.
my Zoom isn't,
Isn't
the camera
working.
isn't,
Oh, that's right, you we'd just been a
yeah, I've been a
black
voice in
screen.
the, yeah.
Ether.
So what can you tell us? Have you got any other additional information on your project?
Wayne asked a question about value, intrinsic value of some of the pieces. and,
Yeah.
I talked to Lynn Bassett, who is this consultant we're hoping to have, and she talked about self-insuring, which is, places the responsibility on the commission and whatever custodial committee there is to protect the condition and protect from theft.
Yeah.
And the town's insurance does have an aggregate amount for what's in the curatorial building, which is, I think, $50K.
Yeah, I think it's just good to know. It's just
Yeah.
good to know. I mean, when you self-insure, it basically means you're taking it upon
Yeah,
yourself.
well,
If something happens,
She
it's
just,
covered, but
yeah,
Yeah.
she said, to appraise, appraising items is prohibitive.
Sure.
And I don't know where we'd get the money to do that.
Sure.
But if we have this assessment, we will have a much better idea of those things that are
sure. And
high
and
end
protect
and-
them better.
right.
That's all
Yeah,
they ask
sure.
for.
Well,
Yeah.
I think one of the other issues is that while they don't have a lot of intrinsic value, on the marketplace to the town, some of them are invaluable, and you can't replace some of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's where it's in our best interest to
Yeah.
make sure they're preserved properly.
Sure. Yeah, I was just thinking in case, God forbid, there was a fire or something
Well,
like
it's a
that.
good
and,
question.
You know, just because if,
Yeah.
you ever lost it, I mean, it's just like, you look at antiques.
Ooh.
I got it.
You look at antiques. Hello. Yeah, and there you're welcome to my brain. So, poof, off go the lights.
Well,
So-
apparently there's an on switch for your brain too, Wayne,
Oh,
so
there is.
focus on that.
Too bad.
Ready?
Ding, there we go. So, I think that, you watch Antique Roadshow and stuff like that, some of these things are, invaluable, but they still put an insurance
Yeah.
value on them. And I mean, you're right, the appraisals and all that stuff. I mean, there's all different ways to insure, agreed upon value, things like that. So, I mean, maybe it's not at this time, whatever's gonna happen, but I think it's worth considering, because, yeah, it would be hard to replace them, but if you were ever to lose them for whatever reason, it would give you funds to,
Yeah,
to come back from it and, start to redo what you were doing instead of it's gone.
just nothing, yeah.
It's, so it's just a thought,
No, it's a
I-
good,
But I think
Being
to
in-
June's point of once the assessment's done, you'll
Yeah.
have a better idea. And
Sure.
even if you decide to get appraisals done for a handful of things,
Yeah,
then, you have a better idea
yeah, you
of
know which
what.
ones to pick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead
Sure.
of just
Yep.
relying on your own.
right, and,
Right.
and the
Occasional.
towns are insured through, whatever most towns are, I forget the name of the company.
Yeah.
But it's just good to, have that conversation with Kristen at some point and just say, well, we know what are our options, is there any option?
Yeah.
The town might say, we're not gonna pay to insure that, but, maybe through fundraising or some other way, there's ways to
Right.
do that,
Yeah.
so.
We have more information than we had before.
Yeah, so I think it's great, I think it's a
Yeah.
great project, so.
The other thing was I managed to interest 2 volunteers who are members of the Berlin Art and Historical Society to help should we be funded next summer when the fiscal year rolls around. They're very interested in clothing and anxious to work on this when it happens. And in the meantime, we were gonna do this tomorrow, but we're gonna put it off because of a couple of things that have happened. But they're gonna work with Edie Brewer, who is really the only surviving older member of the society who has a lot of experience packing with archival tissue. And they were gonna, she was gonna spend a little time with them tomorrow morning, but we've put it off too. So this is good. I mean, whatever they learn about best practices, they can pass on to other members of the society.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's
Does
good.
their assistance mean potentially more items will be able to be handled during the consultant's time with us, or?
Well, that's a good question. It's possible. I mean, she'll be able to put more thoughtful work if she has some drudges to do.
Right.
To-
Minions are
yeah,
always valuable.
Yeah, to do back and forth stuff. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 'cause we definitely have more than, more things that could be looked at than the number we came up with. Yeah.
So you're still happy with the number 13.5?
Yeah, I haven't revisited that.
The only
And-
other thing you talked about was that she might take longer to complete the project.
Longer than a year.
Is that what, did you indicate that? You
Well,
weren't su-
what I estimated was 9 months to a year,
Okay.
based on what she said, which was working
Right.
only 1 or 2 days a week with us because she's busy.
Busy, okay, so that's still.
So in the application, it says 25 6-hour days.
Yeah, that's how I arrived at the
Yep.
figure,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And then I
Added some
built in a little
contingency.
contingency
Yep.
amount in case we were off
Yeah.
a bit.
Add a little bit more, we can turn it back if we don't use
Yeah,
it.
right, we can
Or,
definitely,
or
yeah,
get more done.
yeah.
Or get more done if there
Or
is
get
more
more
done.
stuff
That's
that
right.
can happen in that 25-day window.
It's, part of the assessment, in that email she sent to me was, discussing how to self-insure. I
Okay.
forgot
Mhm.
that part too.
Good.
So she's excited?
Well, she, you know, sh I haven't met her or even actually spoken to her, but she gets right back to you, and I mean, her resume is
Yeah.
pretty comprehensive,
Right.
yeah. And,
And she came highly recommended, right?
well, when I reached out to the New England Quilt Museum, they just got right back to me and said, this is the person you want to speak to. And she got right back to me too. So, and if you go on the Historic Northampton website, you can see, well, at least it was there before, you can see some of the results of her assessment that she made and how they did things. I'll have to look at that again, see if that part is still there.
So has she done this kind of work before?
Yeah, yep, this is, she's been a freelance person for quite a while now.
It's a pretty niche type thing, I would imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's quite
From, yeah,
it's quite the resume.
now, from 2001, she's been on her own. And before that, she had fellowships and, funding to do, focused projects at different museums. Textiles too. We don't have much in that respect.
And there's a lot of,
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
in here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
She's a good
really
writer
impressive.
too. Symposiums, participation in symposiums.
Other questions? I think we're in good shape. So we'll formulate, well, we'll probably vote the next time we meet, but I don't think any of us see any obstacles in regard to this project. And then we generate an article for the warrant
Okay,
and would welcome your explaining it to the crowd like you've done in the past at town meeting.
yeah.
I actually do have one more question that I actually wouldn't be surprised if it comes up. Is she gonna be paid monthly or just at the end of the project, in a couple of increments? Do you know?
Well, when you work with June, the work has to be accomplished.
Right.
And when Barry and I went to the place in Newton where we had scanned inventories,
Mhm.
I want to call it Play It Again, Sam, because that's what it was called when I went there with Tim's father, but it's got a different name now. Ever Present, yeah. They wanted half. And so June worked it out so that when we went there with the actual documents, they accepted she counted that as a deposit.
Got it.
So that's how we got around that, because otherwise I don't know if they would have taken the job.
Right.
So I can ask that question.
It's probably a good answer for you
Yeah.
to have because that's
How does she-
likely to
yeah.
come up at town meeting.
Yeah,
Um,
by the week, by the.
Right, but exactly, is she going to bill you guys monthly or, I mean, that's kinda how I would,
yeah, I would
Foresee
think,
it. that it will be incremental as
Yeah.
work
Better
Yeah.
is
to know.
accomplished, yeah.
if she's been paid by other towns, there must be a sort of a template
Yeah,
that we
just
could
what's the
follow.
expectation? I think
Yeah,
that's a
okay,
smart
right.
thing, because somebody catches you and you go, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's always a great feeling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
As someone who has been in that position.
Yeah, well,
Learn from
yeah.
Carolyn's experience.
If there is a boilerplate contract or something that would be the standard.
Yeah, I think
For that
last,
would be.
when I met with you before, we mentioned that there should be a contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found a couple of links from the historic Northampton website that I'll send to the group that can go in the
Oh, good.
minutes so people can, she's based in Western Mass, so
Yeah, she's,
that's kind of her home
Right.
museum,
Palmer?
seems very clearly. The Northampton Museum is where these websites are from.
Right.
She told me where she was. And that's really the reason for a short day and,
So she can go home.
Yep.
yeah.
Cool.
Everybody set?
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay,
Perfect. Thank you.
yep,
Say hi
thanks,
to Marty.
thanks. Yeah, he had to go to a meeting himself, which
Did
is
he?
quite unusual, yeah.
All right.
He, because he's a Neshoba Neighbors volunteer
Yeah.
and takes pictures for them, he had to go and be instructed with, what would you call it, the protocol,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
So,
Thank you, Jim.
Awesome.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
How are you?
Ooh, look at that. 3 minutes.
Mm-mm. Nope.
And feel
Somewhere
free
in
to
there
take a
desperate,
brownie or
almost sure,
blondie
but-
or a couple.
Oh.
Yeah, Marty will want one.
Yeah, yeah.
Here, Beth.
We know Marty,
Some
so.
meals over.
Oh, yeah, seagull.
No french fries, he'll have to make do.
Yeah. Thank you, that's good, old boy, I'll take him one of these. Yeah.
All right. We'll kill 2 minutes here. Anything anybody has that's inspiring to share? Take care, John.
Thank you.
Inspire.
Well, one of the reasons why the project was put off tomorrow is that we're meeting, the Historical Commission is meeting with a potential project manager for the Bullard House. We decided that there were so many pieces of
Okay,
the
now we have too many
project
happenings.
Sure.
that we needed to have someone who really had a more comprehensive understanding of the whole thing.
Yep.
To put it all together and make sure that the various groups
Smart.
were
That's a
all working
fabulous idea.
together. So
Yep.
we've got a meeting tomorrow at 1
Good.
Good.
to meet them.
That's,
Awesome.
That's
Great.
a
Yeah.
wise move.
Well, you know, it's like you spend money and spend money and spend money. It's like we didn't budget for any of this, but it gets to the point where none of us are experts on
Sure.
No,
on
and
doing
there's
a
that-
reconstruct
Right, that
house.
running a renovation, you mean?
Yeah, that's a smart move.
Yep.
Well, hopefully he'll take the job. It's a little job for these guys, but it's a big job for a bunch of volunteers to try to manage.
Sure.
Of course
Yep.
it is.
So,
Yep.
don't have the
It'll be
background.
it'll be a labor of love.
yeah,
Yeah.
Great.
yeah.
Got these other folks coming in.
But the sign is up,
I saw it. It looks-
Yeah,
it-
yeah.
and you can see it from the road.
You
Yeah.
can, it's a good size.
Yep, it
Yeah.
looks good.
It does what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
I have not done anything else with the signs yet. I just keep
Well,
saying.
you know, the weather has not been very.
No, but I
appealing
have
to the
some
outdoors.
legwork to do
Oh my
with,
gosh.
just getting back to them and redesigning, the unique signs based on what I believe the size is where we had talked about when I go through my notes.
The specific projects.
That specific one, but did we ever make contact with the owner of that property? Because we wanted to talk to him about
The Carter Street?
to talk about the intent of, what we're planning to do and where it goes
No,
and.
I dropped the ball on that, but I will. I know, I know.
You're my pal.
It's
That's why.
that time of year.
That's right.
I mean, we have time.
They
I'm
didn't
not-
want to talk to you anyway, they were busy.
I'm not.
With the
Being
holidays.
Extremely
I'm
considerate.
not
Yes,
stressing about
that's,
it.
that's,
Well,
see?
you know what? I'll get that sign together because then we can have an example and say what we want.
It'll be an easier conversation when you don't have to,
Do an interpretive dance.
yeah,
Of course
exactly.
Well,
But that was what was gonna sell it.
Not. Well, Carolyn's mine would make him not approve it, but Carolyn's would totally make it approved.
But the ones that go on the existing fences would be the easier ones for this
Oh,
time
those will
of
be easy.
year.
Yeah, I just need
Yeah.
to design them and those will be
Anything
easy.
that needs a hole dug is gonna have to wait.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think makes sense to wait till spring anyways, and they'll dig the hole and you might say, nobody wants to go dig a hole.
Right, yeah,
Maybe walk.
yeah, especially after this stretch, the ground will be frozen.
Oh,
and-
yeah. We might
There's
have
no
it.
snow, and it's been so cold, everything is like,
I know.
Everybody else is getting snow. Virginia has snow, Maryland has snow. They're going to get more snow.
Yeah.
And we're not getting anything from the storm
Don't-
either.
Don't jinx,
Uh,
don't jinx
so
it.
tonight,
Don't
tonight
jinx
I
it.
heard maybe 3 inches,
Here?
yeah, on
So-
Saturday.
Shh.
On Saturday, okay.
Shh.
All right, 7:55, we've got a proposal for the town hall, 1870 town hall. Now, this was, the applicant was the town hall committee, and the town hall committee has disbanded. And in chatting with those folks, I said, it seemed to me that it would still be prudent to have these funds available so the design work could occur, and as a result, that material would be available in case it could be integrated in with Bullard House, 1870 driveway, complete streets and all that stuff.
Sure.
So I said I'd be willing to go to the select board because they were the appointing authority for that committee. And the folks that were disbanding said, yeah, they thought that probably made sense. So I went last night and met with the select board and said it seemed like an opportunity would be lost if we didn't carry this project one step forward and make the funds available in case it could be integrated in with some of the other work that was gonna be done.
Right,
And-
the
and-
application's just for the design anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And they said that they would be willing to become the applicant and speak to it at town meeting. And the committee did receive a quote,
It's on the back of those applications.
yeah, and I think they're gonna, the last I heard, there would be some conversation with Austin Design to see if that number could be adjusted a little bit. But basically, I guess the thought now is it's closer to, somewhere in the $9,500 to $10,000 range.
for the design?
Yeah. Where is that figure in?
Yeah, I don't,
I just see the
Actually-
hourly, this hourly rate, that's about all I've seen.
so they want a deposit of 3,000,
Right,
and then there's hourly rates.
for the
Yeah,
different
but
facets.
there's no estimate of how much, that's kinda not comfy.
Right?
So I would say it would be helpful if we had a more complete figure.
Wait, this says estimated budget 5,000.
That's on the
That's on the
application.
application, but inside, on the third page, it says initial payment of 3, and that's the hourly rate, but it doesn't say how many hours that they're anticipating to get the whole project done, so.
Right.
That's not a comfy,
Yeah, so
Way
I
to
think
approach.
it needs to be tied down,
Yeah,
yep.
but and that's what they said. That when I chatted with former committee members, they said
I think they indicated that to us, that they were gonna see if it was gonna be in conjunction with the other work that was being done.
well, that's the thing, Austin is the one who's working on the drainage.
yeah, the
Um,
parking lot and the drainage.
Yeah, so you folks have you've met with Austin.
Yeah.
So they're the logical group to work with because of the fact that they're
And that's who this is from.
intimate with
Yeah.
the environment
And
there
they
in
still think
general.
it's 95?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And I think there'd be some, benefit, synergies, that they could leverage off of.
Yeah, and, I think there was some suggestion that if in redoing the steps might extend out onto the sidewalk a little bit, like a foot or so more than they do now, and if that were the case, then, you know, that sort of binds in with Complete Streets, because the sidewalks are sort of one of the key components of the Complete Streets project for this.
When you say
Center Village.
redo, you mean all those granite steps would be shifted
Yeah.
or something?
Right, I believe the idea is to take them out, re-support them, and then put them back in.
Reset the same granite slabs to be flat, stable, and secure.
They're
Yeah.
really wonderful steps.
Oh, I'm not
Yeah,
saying get
they
rid
really,
of them.
they are,
Beautiful.
yep.
And
Is
they'd
that,
add,
is that the solution?
they'd add a center rail as well.
No, that's
That's just to fix,
part of,
that's to
that's
fix
part
the-
of what would be the next phase, so.
But that's not this, or is
No,
this?
well, they're talking about that in this project, but they're trying to figure out a new strategy to get to that upper
Right,
level
okay.
without using
I
the
was trying,
steps.
I was getting a little confused.
And,
Okay.
you know, I think there's been discussion about, you know, Faith Lindsay's side of the entrance seems to make the most sense, but, you know, I think if you look closely at what's going on the other side, you know, there may be some argument that makes sense to come in it from that side too, so. That's
Yeah,
what
they're
it needs to
talking
be.
about putting a sidewalk up the Bullard side of the driveway, Bullard House side of the driveway, because if you put it up next to the building, then you run into
Snow,
snow issues.
yeah.
Right.
But there needs to be a
Consideration.
walkway up to the
Handicap access.
handicap
and elevator.
access, and right now, it's just walking up the driveway.
Yeah.
First Thursday of every month.
So I'll get back to the former members and say, what's your sense here as to this rather open-ended?
Yeah,
number?
if we could even get an estimate of the number of expected hours.
Yeah,
But you don't wanna get halfway through and be like, sorry, we have a half a plan and.
And no, and
spend
we
money."
ran out of money,
That'll-
yeah.
Well, yeah,
That'll make people really happy.
Yeah.
You're asking for 5,000, but you're gonna be spending 10.
right.
Yeah, 3's up front, yeah, that's kind of a,
Well,
Yeah.
one thing I have to wonder is whether the fact that money's changing, the committee that was going to be the applicant now doesn't exist, but whether that this will discourage anyone at town meeting from considering how, you know,
Right.
I mean, I understand why there's value to this project and continuing it, but it would seem from, you know, a more outside perspective that why are we supporting something when
I mean,
we don't have the group
So
kind
my,
of
my objective is to
spearheading it.
meet with the town administrator and the select board and push, sort of an attack on the whole center village in, you know, in connection with one another, so that you don't look at Complete Streets without looking at Bullard, and you
Yeah.
don't look at Bullard without looking at 1870, and you don't look at 1870 just in terms of the driveway and access to the elevator, but you look at it in terms of the front too. And that, those four components, if they're drawn together and managed together, I mean, right now, there's this conversation about hiring a project manager, but to me, it would make sense for us to be more comprehensive and ask that it be inclusive of the network of activity, 'cause if Austin is working on several pieces of this,
well, there should be economies of scale, because if you go
Right.
back and do this later, you're gonna pay more to do it as an à la carte project than if they're
Yep.
looking at 3
Yeah.
projects altogether.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a
Potentially.
need of greater coordination. I mean, what I always see on a similar vein is how much things that are going on in the center of town may not be welcome, you know, what the 1870 has going on or not going on, you know, rarely know about. Seems like we have a lot of different, you know, between the library, 19 Carter, you know, general, you know, there's, but it just kind of strikes me that, okay, you know, this gives more of a push to try to work on that on, you know, the construction level, but it seems like a little bit of this is kind of the the cart before the horse if, you know, okay, you're gonna go to the barn and we're going to try to get some more horses, but we're still, you know, rolling out the cart, that
Well, the
those more fiscally suspicious individuals at town meeting may not look
That's
out.
a great term.
It certainly is.
May look at what's going on and see a lot of moving pieces that aren't in lockstep yet.
That aren't moving
right?
together.
And that's,
Yeah.
so my hope is that at town meeting, the anybody that's making presentations in regard to any number of activities in the center can focus on the fact that there's a comprehensive approach and
Yeah.
they're linked. And that there's gonna be a flow in terms of the way in which work gets done. Because you've been held up by the fact that the drainage issue for 1870 impacts you, and because that isn't worked on,
Yeah.
you haven't been able to move forward on some of the stuff with the Bullard
Well,
House, so.
there's your point.
And I think people get, you know, say, why isn't Bullard doing more? But Bullard isn't doing more because they're
Towns.
locked into this other.
Yeah.
Right.
And the complete streets, is gonna impact the way in which people flow around the center of town and where
Yeah.
parking is
If you don't
and
think about them all
handicap
together,
access.
that's just bad planning.
Right, so,
Yeah.
It's called lack of. And then someone's gonna get screwed up.
I-
Well, and I think the solutions for the Bullard House in 1870 are very closely linked.
yeah,
There's not a lot of land, they're already sharing pieces, so
Yeah.
they need to make sure that it's all done cohesively.
Yeah.
Yep.
And presenting it at town meeting that way, as opposed to, we
Yeah.
want some money to do this thing, but
Yeah.
somebody
Right.
who can speak to,
But if his,
here are all the pieces and
right,
this relatively small chunk of funding compared to the
Yeah.
rest
Right.
of those projects
Is
can
part
help
of that.
right.
Right.
tie it together.
But if
And-
historical's got their thing under control and what the select board, you know, controls what's going on at 1870 and that's not under control or it's
Yeah.
not a priority, of course, makes
I
sense.
think, I mean, there's ARPA money, there's town money that we voted at town meeting in addition for the improvement of that access up the left-hand side. So I think, and they've had, the Complete Streets folks have come in, the engineers, and done measurements in the center of town.
So who's the coordinator?
Kristen's, you know,
Kristen is.
pulling that stuff together,
Yeah.
so, but I think it would be helpful. I know there was one meeting of the Complete Streets, venture that pulled together a lot of the folks in the center of town who
Yeah.
were there, and,
Yeah.
and I think that it's been a while since we've had one of those, but it's important probably for us to push
Yeah.
for another one of those fairly soon, because the more people at the table that
Yeah.
represent the disparate interests, the better off we're gonna be.
So she's the project manager, she's the project manager?
Well, they're hiring, they're interviewing project manager for the Bullard House work, you know, and has there been any conversation about that person? Are they managing the drainage as well?
Well, I think it's to tie in what is being done for the
Yeah.
drainage, plus the various pieces that need to happen for the Bullard House Foundation work, plus the complete streets.
Yeah, so it's,
Well, that's what I mean, is it one project manager for all of
Right,
that?
so it might be in everyone's best interest if that person also took this on.
right,
Yeah.
so I'll.
It also
Is
might
this
make
just
it
you
more
guys doing this?
more appealing if the job is a little bit more involved.
Yeah.
For
But
someone to
I think
take
we're
the job.
planning to pay for it out of some of the
Yeah,
CPA
that's the
funding.
conversation as to whether that's available or not, so that's one of the questions I have for Stuart is,
Yeah. Can we do it that way? Otherwise, we have to find funding some other way.
So I'll do some more scouting around on behalf of this particular project, so we can have a better understanding the next time we meet.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And it's 8:10.
Woohoo!
Ethan time.
Ethan, how you doing?
Doing all right.
These are public food, FYI.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, help yourself.
I will. I'll wait until after I've talked to
So
Steph
what can you
Mackey.
guys tell us? What's new?
Not a whole lot. holidays kind of put a damper on things.
Sure.
But, I've been in touch with Kristen. I was actually gonna last minute meet with her like last night, but she got COVID. So that was right out. But I'm gonna work with her and get the budget for the fence and the other kind of stick that's going in, the benches and all that stuff, through state vendors. So I have to go through her for the pricing on that.
Yeah.
And then I still need to talk to Fred about adding a couple items on there, but it's in process. It's just holidays.
Yeah. One of the questions we asked Stuart, who's the representative we have with the consortium for community preservation is there any difficulty in using CPA funds to pay highway department personnel? Just to make sure that we don't run afoul of somebody down the road.
That's yeah, we talked with Kristen about that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's literally just taking from one bucket and putting in another.
Yeah.
Procurement's no problem, so
Yeah.
it should be fine.
But his point is, can you use CPA funds to pay that?
I
And we don't know the
believe
answer
so
to
from
that.
talking to, I think Kristen didn't think it was gonna be a problem.
Right, because it's, the town is the vendor.
Okay.
I mean, you still have to hire somebody to do the work.
True.
So,
Okay.
what does it matter if we hire Skip Sawyer or the town
Okay.
or somebody else?
But just to be certain.
Sure.
We're
Yeah.
asking the question.
Yep,
So,
but,
yeah, of course, you
right,
know.
so, but,
Yeah,
but I
that's-
guess that's the logic we're
We-
using.
And
is that,
I think that's
um,
probably the logic Kristen used, but, every so often we learn something from CPA that we weren't quite as up on.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we just wanna make sure that, halfway through this, they don't say, what? You know?
Yeah, I think that there's issues about using CPA funding for things that would normally be paid for through the town.
Yeah,
That is definite, yes.
Right, but that's not what this is, so.
right. This is outside of what the town would normally be doing.
Yeah.
So that's.
Correct.
yeah.
Right, this is not ordinary maintenance, this is not annual operating expenses, which
yeah.
are called out as
Right.
not
Exactly.
appropriate.
Right, which
Yeah.
is why we would be paying the salaries of
Yep.
the town employees separately.
Yeah, and I think, what, I think the language that we have determined that interested employees may work at their overtime rate on a separate payroll will need to be submitted to the accounting office that is specific to this project. So, I mean, it really tries
It's
to
all
isolate it
overtime?
as much as it
Right.
possibly can.
Pardon?
It's overtime,
I think so, yeah.
so it's not during regular hours.
The
Well,
last
that-
page, I think, has the
The
second to last page.
second to
has the
last
overtime
page,
rates.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
I
So,
think I guess that was sort of why my question was before, was like, well, how are you paying regular salary out of this bucket if it's already part of the salary? And, but you just sort of
Answer is
answered
we're
it,
not.
that you're not, cause it's overtime.
yeah.
right, and I believe they are not salaried employees, they get paid by the hour.
But you know what I mean, it's not during their regular whatever hour week.
And-
it's
Sure, but
additional.
that would make a difference also, because if they would get paid anyway, like
It
if
would
they,
be double
if,
dipping.
right,
Right.
Right.
And they're very specific about this is interested employees as opposed to, I mean, people are gonna have to say, I'm interested,
right,
separate from what I normally do for the town, so.
right.
I mean, if they're getting paid OT, I'm sure
Oh,
they
I'm,
can pick up a few.
okay.
bucks.
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
you know.
That's probably part of the reason they do that, is so they can,
Yeah.
Right,
it's like, you want me to work more hours and not get?
right.
Got it.
So you'll do some more homework.
Yep.
And we meet again on, what, 17th,
The 21st.
21st?
Yes.
You have the 21st and the 4th to make your vote
Yeah, I
for
mean, we-
recommendations, and then, we would still have the 18th before the warrant is due.
Yeah, if we needed it.
Yep.
Right.
Alright, I think I can, now that the holidays are over, I think I can make some significant
Yeah.
headway before the 21st, so.
Good.
I'll push to get everything as complete as I can possibly get it before then, and
And we're gonna do Zoom the next time we meet, because no one wants to meet in person.
Not in the winter, anyway.
Yeah, why don't we pick a nice day in May?
Yeah, right?
We'll go back to in-person when it's nice and warm out.
Yeah.
I remember the event in May, I was worried about it being too hot and people were gonna pass out.
It almost was.
We're gonna have this nice shaded new recreation area that we should test.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
not
right.
this May, but
No,
Yeah.
not-
September.
We'll have a pavilion
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
century.
Any other
I
questions?
actually have, no?
Everybody's good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Glad I could help.
thanks.
I know.
Yeah,
Now
take
you're-
us
now
from
for your
take us
reward.
back, right?
Right?
Okay,
Take as many as you want.
yeah.
Oh, in that
I,
case.
I
Yeah,
over,
takes us to
overestimate the, you know, I always fear if I don't get enough, then they'll be like, okay, one person didn't get a brownie, don't worry.
I don't.
Also, I didn't know that the town hall committee had disbanded, so I was expecting maybe another person. you know.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, take care now.
Have a great
All right.
night and
Thank
happy
you.
New Year, everyone.
Thank
Happy
you,
New
you
Year.
too.
You can probably speak to 19 Carter.
I will, out of order, and, I mean, out of, before the time is due, but, so, I think I sent around to everybody that piece from Stewart, right, on nonprofits seeking CPA rec. Did
Yeah.
I?
That sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
And,
I feel like it was ages ago.
I thought,
I didn't say very familiar.
I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah, we all thought that was so.
I mean,
no
we
pro-
knew
no
we couldn't go
problem.
in buildings with rec money, and that's why the library was in an awkward position, but now, trying to use CPA money
For a
for a
nonprofit.
private parcel that doesn't have any protection,
That seems funny though, too, in some ways, because we, like, remember when I first came on the committee, we talked about, oh, you know, helping somebody that owns a historical home to,
yeah.
and
Right.
like, so,
Right, so I
It's-
think like if the house was on the historical register, that would count as protection. But what,
But the house is neither, the house is not protected by historical and the land is not protected by a CR.
right,
So there's,
so,
yeah.
Right.
right,
No, it's a surprise.
yep. But it also
That's the
makes
reason all the
sense,
regs.
right, it makes sense in that, you know, we're spending town funds.
Oh, it made perfect sense.
On something that could then get turned into a
Turn-
private residence.
Yeah,
Theoretically.
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, it makes
Yep.
sense.
But you know, issues like landscaping around the town hall, outdoor spaces or gardens located outside the town library, or you know, any, it says these types of proposals do not typically qualify for CPA funding. Streetscape improvements within the right-of-way of roads and highways, you know, I mean, it's,
So what about, somebody actually asked me if CPA funds could be used to install lights at the tennis courts.
It's town property.
Would
But-
that
but
be,
That's recreation, use of,
sure, yeah,
right.
cause the big
But-
things they want you to stay away from are indoor rec and, permanent surface, you know, for soccer fields and stuff like that, stadiums, they don't want structures.
Right.
for-
Surface.
But it seems, I don't know, it seems like lighting, I mean, that's what we were essentially talking about here for the 19 Carter project, was
Right.
that the lighting was gonna be the benefit, because it was gonna allow
right.
enhanced
And if
use
that
of
was
the property.
town-owned property, it probably wouldn't have gotten kicked,
That's,
right?
you know, if you look at this, when considering CPA proposal for outdoor rec, it's imperative the CPC first determine if the property is dedicated to recreational use. The land is under control of the Board of Park Commissioners, or whatever board, committee, or department has
So it's
care,
town-
custody, or
it's
control
town
of parks.
property.
The property was protected as land for recreational use in a deed or legislative body vote. So that's not true of anything on South Common, there's not a restriction, I mean, they could build a library on the soccer field if they wanted to, right?
So does that mean the irrigation project is?
Well, the land is under the control of the Board of Park Commission, so I don't
Which we
think
don't
that
have.
the rec department doesn't control, they oversee, but
The select board controls it.
Right. But,
Yeah,
but,
and there's not a conservation restriction on that land.
no, but, so then I began to wonder, like you're saying, if they wanted to put the library to the right of the driveway coming in as opposed, one time they were talking about it where the barn is there. And we had expended funds to do the, irrigation.
Right.
That's undone, and we can't dismiss the notion that that could happen.
And that's actually one of the examples that Stuart used, of a school where
School.
they had done some work and then
Right.
they built the school on top of it.
School on top of
Right.
it.
Right.
Well, like at Tohono, if we had invested money 8 years ago in, helping them irrigate the old football field.
And then they put the school
the
on
new
top of
school
it.
on it.
Right.
So,
So we should talk to the select board and Kristen about
How
putting some sort of protection
Yeah.
on South Common for dedicated recreation.
But the town might not wanna do that.
Well, it occurs to me though that
It's time.
in the absence of doing any of that, if we're determined that we couldn't do these various things because the, rec committee doesn't control it, given they control no property whatsoever, it would sort of imply that we couldn't do any rec, which I would think would also be kind of a red flag interpretation if a town could not use CPA
Even if
months
the
for
land-
rec. So I would think
Well,
that
But
that would.
how does it work in Hudson? I mean, they've got all their parks and recreation commissions, so they've got all their parks and whatever. It's like if the town wanted to put something on one of those parcels, they can't.
Right, so what level of protection is there for
Yeah.
properties like that in other towns?
And I think.
And setting up something in
Yeah.
this town, whether that, so it's either having the select board put some sort of protection on that land, or giving rec authority over that land.
I
But
mean,
if not-
the difference in the example, of the school, is that was a, I don't think it was the town, I think it was the school board that did it. So it was like, the town didn't have any control at all. They just went and did that.
Right.
So, I mean, at least in Berlin, the voters would have to make a decision that we invested this and now you're gonna do that. It's like, I mean, that would be a difference, but it wouldn't just happen. It would be sad.
I mean, the good
Sure.
news is that we can clarify the issue
we should know.
and see if we can come up with a resolution that helps us protect that land, that any irrigation. I mean, we may very well have to modify the language at another town meeting where we say the language, is that any land that is gonna be irrigated has to be under some sort of protective covenant somehow.
Or under the authority of the recreation committee.
Yeah, that,
That's,
I know.
I don't know if the select board's prepared to do that.
but don't they
Agreed.
appoint, but they appoint them, so.
They do appoint them.
So-
And it does say, or whatever board, committee, or department has care, custody, and control of parks and rec, so, I mean, the select board ultimately is the.
But I
Right.
would be curious still what
I mean,
Stuart or they
Put it
would
where-
have to
put it
say
where the
about
tennis courts are.
that if
Right?
that
Yeah.
equivalent board in a town controls nothing. Like,
Mhm.
it'd be one thing if, we had the rec committee controlling some land and it didn't control other land and we said, okay, you can only, but I would think that an interpretation of the law that made it impossible for you to spend CPA money on recreation, I would think that some principle of generosity would
There's
not
no sense
allow
in
for
doing
that,
in space.
such a stringent,
Yep.
in that case.
Fence.
That if it controlled some and not others, I would think that might be a problem. I would think that, there would be some level of common sense that would stop an interpretation that says, okay, you can't do rec.
Right, 100%, yep.
So that application has formally been withdrawn, but it has raised questions about some of these other issues. So
Which
it
is
was
important for us to know.
valuable in that regard.
Yep.
So that's it for the presentations. CPA membership update, of course, Beth has joined us. I've asked Felicia, if they would like to appoint somebody, and she said, you know, they bring that up at the next time they get together, so hopefully we'll get a representative from rec, at one of our upcoming meetings.
Be no good reason not to appoint someone, yeah.
Ellie,
Unless
you
they
gave
don't
us
have
an
a volunteer.
update on
Yeah.
historic commission stuff. Anybody else got any updates from the
No.
committees they represent?
We haven't met in a month.
Neither has Beth. So. No member updates. We don't have any public. The next meeting's the 21st. What am I forgetting, Maureen?
The only thing that Eloise gave me the special article 6, whatever stamp thing. 7 people did not want to pass this article for getting the housing trust to be on the CPA, but 77.
I'll go find them. Who
Yeah.
are they?
Yeah, 77.
I think there was a vote routinely 7 people
There who vote no on everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But
That's
we officially have it in our files.
pretty routine. So
And
that,
I have officially been sworn in as well, if,
Yeah.
I don't, just be recorded somewhere,
Sworn in, sworn out. It's
all the same.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was gonna mention is, you know, that you sent out that, training thing for,
Mm.
Yes, we were talking about that for the
and
ethics.
he said right in the beginning, this does not count for your training. He said it counts for, continuing education hour credits, but he said it doesn't replace having to take that
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 ethics
quiz.
training?
Yeah, so I spent, 2.5 hours one Thursday morning.
And you still had to go, you still have to.
I
take it.
and I
but you,
haven't done it yet.
didn't you print your
Yeah.
certificate?
Well, you have to ask him to send you something. There isn't a printed certificate.
Cause I printed my certificate when I was done.
I think
When you
you're
took
talking about
the
2
No,
different
quiz?
things.
she actually did the.
She
I
the
did
in-person
that,
thing.
that training
Oh,
session.
you did the training as
Yes,
opposed to the
and
online thing?
he
Oh, I
said
see.
in the beginning,
I
this
see.
does not
Cool.
qualify for doing your quiz.
Wow.
That's a
So
bummer.
I would say, don't waste your time.
Take the take the online, okay,
I mean, it was
misunderstood.
interesting, but
You should take, the test should be a breeze now after all that prep, so.
I have
The
to say
test
that
is so easy.
he liked it.
Every
Yeah.
time I take the test, though, I notice things that are it's either a gap in the law or it's a gap in the training, but there are definitely things that, like, every time it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just, I knew that we had that meeting on the 21st. Of course, couldn't figure out where I'd scribbled it all down. But I went on to My Town Government to look, and none of our future meetings are like on the calendar.
I don't put them into my town government, they're just on our town webpage.
Oh, okay.
That's where you can find them,
Right, so, but you
Right.
do post to My Town Government?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
But not
Yeah,
the
yeah.
advance, because all the
And
other
the reason
meetings,
why I do that.
all the other meetings are
is-
held there.
I mean, it would still update you
Well,
once
it
you
depends on
put
the
the
funding.
agenda into it, but I like to wait till that Thursday versus having to go in and cancel or revise.
That's fine.
So like you always
I'll know
usually,
where to look
Tim and I
next
will
time.
meet on Thursday, he'll leave,
Shame on them.
then I'll do the by town
I got
government.
Yeah,
It's the whole
I
year.
usually
Might
do
figure it out
cultural
tonight,
council,
'cause I was saying,
again,
can we go
do
on?
that very
I'm
late,
like,
so.
yeah, don't
I
think so.
found out, I
I'll
scheduled
find
a
out
meeting
today.
for next Thursday, and I was going right on the sheet that I did it, because there was nothing, and I guess we have coffee talk next Thursday.
Okay,
Oh,
so,
really?
Wh-
I missed that.
Yeah, it's on for 2/27. I had booked it for something, and I looked to see if any other committees were meeting, and I'd see on Thursday with no
Yes,
time
secretary.
mentioned, coffee
Right.
talk. So I'm gonna have to
yeah, that's
email
why
Dee
right.
to see when they're meeting and where else
And
I
check
could meet
the-
if I can't meet there.
You should check the minutes. I know last night, Coffee Talk was on the select board agenda to determine if they were going to have it, if there was anything to
Okay.
discuss. So
Okay.
it's possible it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
That's why I don't
That'd be
put
helpful,
those
'cause
things
I don't-
out there,
this
because
room's
then
up-
we-
Right,
Booked
because
the same time.
Peg's pretty good about,
confusing to
It's
people
fi-
'cause they
it's
see- no, I'm just
fine.
trying to explain
You're
why, 'cause,
just
people think
teaching
Coffee
me
Talk's happening, 'cause they
where
saw
I need
it.
to be
but-
looking.
Yeah.
Yes,
then
because
it's
I was
not
looking on
there.
my town government, like, they never meet, there is no meeting. It's,
Yeah.
I was like, that's not right, I know that's
Right.
not right.
That's cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Oh, wait a minute,
Oh.
were you gonna update something? You said, oh, I have an update on,
Oh, no, I'll tell you afterwards. No.
okay. Not an official update?
No, not an official update.
We haven't forgotten anything?
I don't think so.
Think?
The 21st will be the next
I
meeting.
depend on you
I
to
know,
tell
I
us,
think
you know.
this is it.
Awesome.
All right, so we have a motion to adjourn in a second. It's
Second.
non-debatable. All
Second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Well.